I'm back. Hi guys, it's your girl Ina here. Hey, I didn't know when I was going to be ready to come back and make a video, but this happened last night and it's so funny. I had to make a video about it. So last evening I had to go and get an MRI on my back. No big deal. Nobody needs to get overly concerned about it, but I had to get an MRI on my back. I've had so many sports injuries, and I mean like a lot. I know I've had 17 surgeries up until now, mostly due to sports injuries. So that you young kids enjoy being young while you can, because once you get old, everything starts breaking down. Anyway, so I've had 17 surgeries. So me getting an MRI between all of my knee surgeries and my back and everything else I've had, me getting an MRI is sort of like getting like a normal person getting their teeth cleaned. Like I have to get them all the time. So I'm pretty used to getting an MRI. I don't get freaked out about it. I don't get nervous about it. I could probably give the test to myself at this point. I've done this so many times. But anyway, yesterday I had to go get an MRI. And you know, as you have to fill in, even though I've been to the same place for x-rays and mammograms and MRIs and everything, I still have to fill out the paperwork every time I go there. Now, keep in mind, I live in a German-speaking part of a European country. So the paperwork, obviously, I don't get it in English, I get it in German. Well, I've lived in Switzerland for, I guess, over 19 years. So me getting like paperwork in German isn't something strange. I don't expect them to give me the information in English. So sometimes I have to get through paperwork in German. Now, is my German perfect? No, my German it was good enough to pass my citizenship test, and I can order at a restaurant, and I get by in German, but it's not perfect. But you know, Switzerland's not the only country I've lived in. I lived in Belgium for a couple of years, so I had, you know, menus that were in Dutch, Flemish, and French for the years I lived there. I actually had a house in France for a while. Bettina and I had a little farm out in France for a while. I took Spanish in high school, so usually between the languages that I can usually get through a menu or get by with the languages, that's the chair, not my butt. Usually get through, you know, figure stuff out when I have to. But of all those languages, German obviously is my best besides English. Anyway, so I'm at the MRI place getting my MRI, and I'm filling out the paperwork. And first of all, everyone wears masks. Like, you have to here. Like, nobody thinks it's... Don't think I'm getting political, because I'm not. But nobody thinks it's a political like scam or something that we have to wear masks. The government says we wear masks, so we wear masks. Like, nobody gets in a hissy about it. And actually, we're doing really well with the corona, knock on wood, right now. Anyway, so in certain places, you just have to wear a mask, like no discussion. So I had a mask on, the woman had a mask on. So I had a hard time understanding her, not because I didn't understand what she was saying. It was just a little bit more difficult to understand with her having a mask on and me not being mother tongue German. You know, I'm not sure where to look. If I look like this, it looks like I'm not looking at the camera. And if I look like that, it looks like I am, but it feels weird because, anyway. So if I look like I'm drunk, I'm not. This is coffee. I just got out of bed. Anyway. So I'm trying to struggle through, like, making sure I understand what this lady is saying, because I have to get this procedure and la 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 la. So then she gives me this paper. I was going to hold this up, but that's Tinn's music. She gives me a paper they have to fill out. Well, obviously, when you get an MRI, there's questions that they have to ask you to make sure that you're not, you know, endangering yourself. For those of you who haven't had an MRI, you can't have any, like, jewelry on, anything that's any metal you can't have on. You can't even have like a hair tie, because I had the top of my hair pulled back. You can't have a hair tie with a little piece of metal on it. No metal. You have to get rid of everything. So since I'm an old pro at MRIs, I left all of my jewelry. I took everything off before I went there. And then you have to answer questions like, do you have any anything like dental prosthetics, whatever, and like dentures or something that might have metal in it? Have you ever had any implants, like in your head? Or I've had metal in both of my knees for years, because I've had both of my knees reconstructed, and now I have a fake knee. Now I have a prosthetic knee. So all these things, you know, you have to fill out, because the magnet inside the MRI, la 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 la. Anyway, see, I have to fill out all this paperwork, and then toward the bottom, there's like specific questions you have to answer, but they also ask you. So they ask you verbally, and you have to fill out the thing just to make sure. So before the lady gives me my thing, she asked me the questions, you know, do you have any, you know, metal in your head? Do you have Platzangst? Do you have claustrophobia? Because when you go in the MRI machine, it's like being in a coffin. And I'm a big girl. Like when I'm in the machine, my shoulders touch both sides of the machine. It's like you're really in this little tube. So she asks, you know, the normal questions about the metal. She asks if you have schizophrenia. If you have claustrophobia, asks if you're pregnant. So she asks me if I'm pregnant. Now I'm 48 years old, so I've got white hair. I guess I can color it, but I don't color it. For me to be pregnant would kind of be a grace from God because things ain't working like they used to work. So she asked if I'm pregnant, and then I was like, no. And then she's like, oh, you're not in a, I don't even know if I should talk about this on YouTube. You're not in a active relationship. I'll just say it that way, you know what I mean, right? And I said, well, no, I'm married to a woman, so like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm not pregnant. And then the questions like that she asked me. So then I get the piece of paper, and I'm filling it out, and again, there's the same questions. Are you claustrophobic? And I'm like, no. Do you have metal here? You know, of course, I put the places where I have metal I put on there, and then do you have claustrophobia? And then there was a question, what I thought, like when I have to look at a word, if I don't know the word in German, normally you can look at the root word, and then between the languages that I kind of recognize a little bit of, I can figure out what they're trying to say. Like I said, German's probably my best language. Well, not probably. German's my best language after English, but there's just some words, if I haven't come in contact with them, then I just don't know them. So there was a word, and the root word of the word was still, still, like be still, but they would pronounce it still. And I know that in German, still means quiet, like still, for example, if you sing the song Silent Night, in German it would be Stille Nacht. So still is quiet. So I'm looking at the root word, and I'm like, okay, so this must be something to do with being quiet. And I'm like, okay, well, let's think about it logically. They're not going to ask me if I'm being quiet because that's stupid. It doesn't matter if of course I'm not being quiet. I'm always talking and whatever. No, it doesn't make sense to ask me if I'm being quiet. So I'm like, what could this possibly mean? And I'm like, well, quiet, still in English is sitting still. Still in German is quiet. I'm like, it must have another sort of meaning to the word that means relax, because that would make sense to ask if I'm claustrophobic and if I'm relaxed, because when you get in this little tube, if you're not chilled out, like you could really freak out, because it is kind of, if I haven't had it done 100 times, I would get scared in that little machine. So I'm like, okay, they must be asking me if I'm quiet, because, you know, sometimes German words, for example, the word make, machen, they use that, it's like there's no word for do in German, it's just make. So if someone said, I have to do my homework, they would say, ich muss meine Hausaufgaben machen. Machen is make, not do. So sometimes when German speakers are speaking English, they will say, I have to make my homework. And then you're like, what do you make a cake, you don't make your homework. But it means the same thing, it's just a word literally translated means something else. So I'm like, okay, there's no logical explanation except that still somehow in this context, with that being the root word, must mean calm. So I checked, yes, I'm calm, like I'm chill, like I'm good. So the lady gets the sheet, and the lady gets the sheet, and she's reading this stuff, and she's like, okay, missing a C, la 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 la, and then she gets to this thing, stillen. So if anyone who speaks German is already laughing because they know what that word means. I didn't know what the word meant until yesterday. So she's looking at me, and I'm looking at her like, what, bitch? She's looking at me, and she was like, and then she repeated it, stillen, and I'm like, yeah, I'm chilling, I'm stilling, like, whatever. Like, I thought it meant, are you chilling? Like, are you calm? Are you relaxed? Because you're about to get shoved in a tube, and it's like your face is this far from the plastic. And I'm like, dude, I'm chill. Like, I can do this. I'm like, this is fine. And the lady's like looking at me like, it doesn't mean that, you cow. But I mean, obviously I have such a strong accent when I speak German. She must have realized it wasn't my mother tongue. And she's looking at me like, it doesn't mean what you think it means. And I'm like, what does it mean? Like, whatever. And I'm like getting mad, like it's a conspiracy against me, like because of an accent they're trying to make me look stupid. And I'm like, what the heck does the word mean? Like, I don't know what it means. So, so she's like, do you have your phone? And I was like, yeah. She's like, you might want to look that word up. And I was like, okay, still it. The word means breastfeeding. So I just finished telling her, like, I'm a lesbian, like I'm not pregnant, I'm not claustrophobic, but I'm breastfeeding, like 50, almost 48 years old, like I'm breastfeeding, and I'm sticking by my, oh God, I'm so crying, I'm sticking by my guns. But she was being mean to me because I had an accent, and I'm like, I'm calm, bitch, why are you being mean to me? And the question was, are you breastfeeding? And I'm like, yep. Oh my God, I laughed so hard. And I'm sure that lady with her little mask on, I'm sure she's going out today being like, there was this giant American woman that came in here who could barely speak German, and she's like 100 years old, and she has white hair, and she thought she was breastfeeding. Anyway, that's your laugh for today. I hope everybody's doing well. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon. Bye.